I just sent it because I didn't know how fast you needed to.
That you got it in there.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, let's roll. You guys want to grab your seats?
You could grab one anywhere. There's some seats up here.
Okay, let's connect and game plan. So, plus I'm gonna reach out to some
How's it
people
going?
for you guys so that way you guys
What
can
it
schedule
is?
some more meetings.
That looks comfy.
We got the hats going though.
I brought a dress.
Sweet.
Change.
Okay.
Get cozy. It's cold.
Perfect. They're good.
I know.
They
I'm gonna have to tell them to close
they're
those
just no
doors here
longer
soon.
doing
It's
all
a
the
little
partnerships.
nipply.
It's new owners now. And
little
the old
nipply.
owner still works there, but she's about to leave. She's
If you guys want, there's some seats up here too. If you guys want to sit up here,
transfer. But yeah.
if you want to put yourself in that bracket, extra. How's everybody doing?
Fantastic.
Happy New Year. How's everybody's holidays?
Amazing.
Good. Who did traveling for the holidays? Who was out of state?
Yes.
Nice. Anybody go back east? All righty. Any snow? Anything crazy? No? There's a couple states that I've been hearing some from my buddies. They didn't even get no snow at all, like this whole winter all the way up to Christmas. It was actually dry with no snow in some of the states that actually should have some snow. So,
That's nice.
everything good, Clayton? We rolling on everything? Cool, cool. All righty, guys. Well, my name is Blake Hahn. For those of you who don't know who I am, Michael Law over here to the left. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. I know it's a Thursday night. It's right out the gates of New Year and everything, and it tells a lot about someone that's coming out here on a Thursday night, especially from 6 to 9 p.m. to come learn, educate, feed your brain, feed yourself to become the best version of yourself and get to the next level and network with some great people. So give you guys some props for already coming out and doing that, taking a step forward. It is New Year, so happy New Year's to everybody and happy holidays. Hopefully everybody had a great time. I want to share something with you guys. I had a great experience. The best gift that I was given at the end of the year was my son. I had my son on December 21st, 7 pounds, 6 ounces, 19 and a half inches. So I'm very excited and very blessed to be bringing him into the world going into 2024. So very exciting. Who has kids in here?
Yes.
Alrighty, so you guys know how that is. Yes. Alrighty. Number 2, I got 2 under 2, so I'm trying to catch up on some sleep, and I'm not catching up too well. So, guys, please take notes. Does anybody not have a notepad or anything, a pen? Did we bring any of those extra notepads?
I
We didn't.
didn't.
Okay. I was gonna say, please, you guys want to take notes. I know.
Your
Obviously,
phones work.
iPads,
we all have
phones.
yeah, we all have phones. Take out the notes.
Yes. Michael is going to be going over some good information. You guys can see right here, the knowing and doing gap. As he was talking to me about it, I think this is really one of the best lessons and courses that he could go over jumping into 2024. I don't know if you guys know a lot of people, but there's a lot of people that I know that know a lot of information, but they don't do nothing with that information that they know. How many of you guys know those type of people?
Yes.
And how many of you guys maybe know a lot of information, but you're not doing? You got to raise your hand. I've been there too as well. We have all been there, right? So really what we're going to bring out today is we want to show you guys the knowing and doing gap and how you could merge those together so that you could actually get what you want out of life. You could hit the goals that you want this year, and you could actually win and become the best version of yourself. The ultimate goal is to get better every single day. And Michael's going to go more in depth on Ideal and what we offer, but what we've created with Ideal is we've created a system and processes that could help you master your habits so you can master your life and become the best version of yourself. And it's in multiple areas, so we focus on habits. If you could dial in your habits in all areas of your life, you're ultimately going to win. And just think about this, guys. Don't try to get better at 10%, 50%, 100% a day better. Just think about trying to get better every single day at 1%. What would that look like over 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? How much, like where would you be in your life? And we're really excited going into 2024 because we're going to be releasing our app in March, which these books are the Ideal book that you guys see here. Everything is in one central location, and then this will be going digital too as well. So March will be launching this, but we're really excited and everything because we just launched our programs. The Master Your Habits, Master Your Life program, if you guys don't know about that, it's a 12-week program, 90 days. We just launched that last quarter. Some of the students are actually in here right now, so if you guys want to get some more information on that, please network and talk to these people and get some insight of what we're doing and how we're helping these people achieve their goals and get to the next level of what they're looking to do in 2024. So with that being said, I'm going to give the floor up to Michael Law, and he's going to smash it out. Lesson 2, baby, the knowing and doing gap. Let's go.
Alrighty. So the reason why this says lesson 2 on here is you guys all have the luxury of being in this room and learning some information that some people pay tens of thousands, some people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn this lesson, right? And many lessons that come with it. So you guys get to experience it and learn this lesson for free. And it's called the knowing doing gap. So I'm gonna dive into that. Like he said, there's a lot of people here. I'm one of them. But I did something different in my life. I decided to know a lot early. I called it self-university, right? Life university. Where some people, they'll leave high school and they'll go into college for 4 years. They'll get a degree. I did something opposite. I said, you know what? I did go to college just so I could get the support from my mom to make sure that she supports me moving. And whenever I moved out, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this life university where I say yes to every single opportunity that I can say yes to so I can learn as much information I wanna learn. In doing that, I discovered 4 things, right? And I'll put them in 4 boxes. So think of a box split up into 4s. And in the top left box was things that I loved doing and I was great at. In the top right box was things that I liked doing and I was good at. What you want to do in life is you want to find out everything that you love and you like and you're great and you're good at and put yourself in the position to do those things. Then I found out the bottom right left box, which is the things I'm good at but I don't like doing. I always use the example of websites. I'm a website developer. I could build amazing websites, but I don't like doing it, right? Then I go to the bottom right box, which is things you're not good at and you don't even like doing. And what you want to do with these bottom 2 boxes is you want to delegate the bottom 2 tasks, the tasks that come to you and these things, and you want to delegate it to the people to where those things are other people's top, right? So if I'm not a great website developer, but I need a website, I want to delegate that to somebody where that's somebody's passion. They love it, they're great at it, and they're good at it, right? And when you understand that concept, you can actually start moving through life being very effective. So we're gonna talk about, and that's what I learned. That's what I became to know. So I knew a lot of information, and I didn't do a whole lot with it. So we'll go ahead and so the information that I'm gonna talk about today, and I enjoy making these slides, by the way, because I try to figure out how can I take what I'm gonna say and put an image on the screen so you guys can take imagery back. We think in images. So today I'm gonna talk about a concept that's probably the most profitable concept you guys could ever put attention towards. Now, you probably do put attention towards this from time to time, but it's more of like a passing thought, right? Kind of like a thief in the night, something that just comes and goes. So what we're gonna talk about is, and when we talk about this, what I wanna do, has anybody seen this diagram that's not a student of Ideal? Anybody? Okay. So who's not familiar now with a show of hands with this diagram right here? Perfect, perfect. I'm gonna explain it briefly so that way you guys get the concept. What I want to do is I want to bring your conscious awareness to this idea that we're going to talk about. Now, this sick person is probably one of the most genius diagrams I've seen in my life. And what this is it's you, right? And we got two parts of our mind. We have our conscious mind, which I'll talk about today. So our conscious mind is where we gather all this information. We have our subconscious mind, and then we have our body. And our conscious mind is where thoughts come into. Whenever we get emotionally involved with that thought, right? Let's say someone was going on a diet. I'll talk about that today too. Going on a diet, but they were serious, right? They wanted to compete on stage for bodybuilding. But they're overweight. So they spend years. They got emotionally involved into that idea, so they work out subconsciously. They're going to the gym. They're on the plans. When they're emotionally involved in that idea, it'll put you in a vibration, your body in a vibration, to cause you to do things. So when you see this diagram, if this is your first time seeing it, I just wanted to give you a quick little rundown. This goes in far, far in depth, but that'll be a quick overview. So the idea we're going to discuss today is called the knowing doing gap. And there's a big difference enormous difference between what most people know and what they actually do. And when I say most people, I could say almost all people, even myself included, right? I know a ton of information that I'm doing nothing with. So the way this works is we're conditioned. The way we're conditioned, we're raised, it's genetically passed through. When you guys understand this genetically passed through, it'll blow your mind, it'll change your life. and the way we're conditioned in our little life, right, when we're young. So through the school system, we're programmed this way. We're programmed to learn more information, right? So what we'll end up doing is we'll get books in school. We've all been to school, we went through this, and we'll get books, and we'll study the books, right? We get these textbooks, we'll study them. Then the teacher, the professor, they're actually gonna cover what's in the book. Now, when they cover what's in the book, what's gonna happen is they're gonna give you questions about what's in the book. And if you so happen to get the questions correct about what's in the book, you'll probably, and then remember these questions, you'll end up with a passing grade, right? And this continues and continues to go on. So if you do this long enough, right, year after year after year, you'll eventually end up with a degree. So going from there, you'll notice you'll walk around all around Earth, and you'll see people that are literally an encyclopedia of knowledge. Some of the smartest people in the world, but they're not very effective people, right? And then on the other side of things, you'll find people that have no information whatsoever, yet they're very intelligent, very effective. So when it comes to this, there's a quote by Earl Nightingale. This quote, when I heard it, is actually the reason why I'm presenting to you guys today. The first time I heard this quote was probably 9 years ago. And it says, why is it that some people do so well in life and others do not? Right? So the reason why I had this question is because I grew up in poverty, right? I grew up where my mom was working 3 jobs. It didn't make sense that she was working 3 jobs to only make like 30, 40 grand a year. So when she could have worked 1 job and made 40 grand, right? So I didn't understand that. We were going through life. We were always behind on bills. Then I'd hop online. Facebook started becoming a thing, and reality TV. And I'd see all these people with Lamborghinis on movies, mansions, houses, and real people, right? And they're living their life at ease. I'm like, why is it that some people are doing so well in life, but yet I could watch my mom work her ass off for years, year after year after year, and we're still behind on bills, right? We still have collections calling the phone. So when I came across this quote, I was like, man, this quote set me off on a 7-year journey to figure out why. So, like I was saying before, some people they're walking encyclopedias of knowledge, right? Then you have other people that are illiterate, they don't know how to read or write, yet they're multimillionaires. They're building multinational organizations. Does anybody in this room know some people that you're like, how the heck are they freaking successful? Like, this guy's dumb as a sack of rocks, right? But yet they're multimillionaires. You're like, how is this happening? And so it's part of their paradigm, which we'll talk today. So, yep, why is that and how does it happen? Go ahead, next. So there's 2 parts of our mind that I was talking about. And what I'm going to talk about right now is that top half, our conscious part of our minds. Inside of our conscious part of our mind, that's where we gather information. Right now, you guys are gathering information from me in your conscious mind. So with that information, we're starting to know, right? We're not doing nothing with it yet. But as we get older, go ahead, this gap starts to get wider and wider and wider, and it stretches all the way over there. And because we know so much more in life, all of us are, I think, above 20 years old. How old are you? 18? 18, crushing it. So right environment, right time. So 18 and older. Now, as we get older, this information that we don't do it with, some people in here, it led me to become frustrated, which it will. And I was like, man, okay, I did it intentionally. When I said, okay, I'm going to do this life university, I'm going to start learning a lot of information, I'm not going to do anything with it yet because I want to see what I'm good at, great at, right? And as I started going through this information, I was like, all right, so now, today, if I want to do something, and I know the information and I don't do it, it starts to cause frustration in my mind. So I'm like, man, I just got to do it. And in a lot of people, there's a lot of people in life, they get to 50, 60, 70, they start laying on their deathbed and they're like, man, I didn't do anything outside my comfort zone. I just relaxed. I know people that are begging for a stimulus check to do nothing at home, right? Because they don't want to do nothing. But they know a lot of information, they just don't do nothing with it. And this leads to behaviors that end up leading you to, there's no profit in frustration, right? When you're frustrated, that's going to lead you to behavioral patterns that cause you to act a certain way, behave a certain way. Therefore, you're going to get results that don't lead to money in a corporation, don't lead money to your organization, doesn't lead money to your pockets, and more than just money, it doesn't give you the results that you actually want in your life. So I'm going to take this conversation back to when we were kids. Now, I remember when I was growing up, I was a troublemaker growing up. So any troublemakers in here growing up? All right, a little bit of everybody. So as a troublemaker, I would remember, no, you go back, my bad. So I would remember I'd be talking to my mom, or I'd do something and I'd get in trouble, and my mom would come over, she'd be, Michael, why'd you do that? I don't know. And so what I was doing, though, is I was doing things that I didn't really want to do. I was getting results that I didn't really want to get, but yet I was doing them anyway, right? And as I was doing that, when it came to this problem, go ahead, and I would have this conversation with my mom, it would hit me again, like, why are you doing that? I don't know. You know better. I know, right? And so we have this conversation over and over and over throughout our life. Anybody have that conversation? Why are you doing that? I don't know. You know better. I know. So this carried on. Like I said, troublemaker. This carried on through school. So now I'm going through school and I'm doing things that I don't want to be doing, getting results I don't want to be getting. Teacher, Michael, why are you doing that? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You know better. I know. So I have a buddy who, what's nice is I could use this example, who got kicked out of the Army, right? Got into the Army, was doing things that he shouldn't be doing, was getting results he shouldn't have been doing. And you have somebody that is just causing trouble in the military or in the Army or whatever it was. He was in the Army? Yeah, he just got kicked out recently. And so I'm going to have a conversation with him about this. And so you get the command, you're like, I'll use the example Johnson as his last name, right? Johnson, why are you doing that? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You know better. And so this conversation would be going, well, like, I know. Okay, so why'd you do it? I don't know. So that led him to, okay, if you don't know, here's your punishment, right? And they'll punish him. Maybe they might fine him. Whatever that punishment is in the Army, in the military. But the crazy thing is he would go do it again, right? So he got his punishment, he got the result of it, but he still continued to go do it again. Then the next thing you know, Johnson, why are you doing that? I don't know, sir. Or how many times do we have to tell you to not do that? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You know better, right? I know. And so this conversation just keeps going on and on and on. Go ahead. And this will carry on and then to your career. It carries on into your relationships. It'll carry on into your marriage, your business, and just throughout all of life. It's a type of behavior. It's the way you behave. And we know a lot of things, but we don't know why we do them. So, again, I was doing things I didn't want to do. It was giving me results that I didn't want to get, yet I was doing them anyway. So, best example there is someone who wants to go on a diet. Let's put our attention there. Someone who's trying to go on a diet. And they see this delicious cake. I'm a chocolate lover, so any chocolate lovers in here? Yeah. So, and they see this cake, right? Maybe they attend a party or something, and they see this slice of cake, and they know they shouldn't eat it. But to them, it's just a slice of cake, right? And they know they don't want the results that this slice of cake is going to give them. But they eat it anyway, right? And they eat it anyway. Then you have somebody walk into the room that catches them. I thought you were on a diet. I am. Well, then why'd you do that? I don't know. Right? So, and this happens all the time. So, good. When it comes to business, especially in North America, here's the crazy thing. There is $60 billion. I've seen the business owner that Blake works with invest hundreds of thousands of dollars that is invested into training people, getting them to help people know more, right? Helping people know more. It's training. right? In corporations, it's training. And all training is, most of this training too, by the way, isn't like experiential training. It's just gathering information. It's the way we've been conditioned. So we're gonna put you in a room, or we're gonna give you a program, we're gonna give you some type of information. Your job is to consume it during a certain training period and just know more information. What we're doing right now in this room is that same thing. We're gathering information, what I talked about earlier. We're gathering information. You guys are all consciously gathering information. Here's the difference. This information will actually solve a problem for you when you understand it. And when you begin to understand it, this solves more problems that people take to their grave, right? People take tons of things to their grave that they could have solved. I said, I've heard stories of people, they're like literally laying on their deathbed and they're saying, I wish I did more, right? And you'll hear that forever, unless somebody's fulfilled in life and they've achieved everything they want. So again, there's two parts to our mind, and the conscious mind is where we gather information, right? It's when you're reading books, you remember the books, you get asked questions about the books from your teacher, you remember again the books, and then you pass the exam, and then you read, you remember, and then you repeat, right? Read, remember, repeat, read, remember, repeat. But just because you're gathering information doesn't mean you're actually gonna do something with that information. You're just gathering information. How many people do we know in here went 4 years university, 8 years university, 12 years of university, and ended up not doing anything with that degree, right? Went completely south. They're like, went to be a doctor, but yet now they're doing like yoga instructing or something. And it's true. This happens all the time. We invest hundreds, get a degree that they're gonna feed you a whole bunch of BS, and you don't really even get your education for your degree until the 4th year. And so it's like they're filling you with information, and this is the way we're conditioned, right? We're conditioned to gather information, not do, we're conditioned to gather. So the part of your mind that gets you to do, if you're wondering, like, think to yourself real quick. I'll give you a moment. Think to yourself something that you do habitually, and you don't like the result of you doing it. Have you ever thought to yourself, why do I do this? Even though I know I shouldn't be doing this, why do I do it? Right? And so you just ask yourself that question, and it's your subconscious mind. It's where we behave. So I was talking about the top of the diagram, right, is your conscious, and the bottom is your subconscious. Go back, you're good. And so in this phase, in your subconscious mind, what you're doing is you've been emotionally attached to whatever idea it is you've put into your subconscious mind. You got emotionally involved into that idea. And because you got emotionally involved into that idea, it now puts you on a vibration in this body right here. You do whatever you're emotionally involved into, right? And when you do that, you're gonna get results. And those results are either gonna be something you wanna do, or you're gonna be behaving in a certain way, doing things you don't wanna do, getting the results you don't really want, yet you do them anyway. So in the subconscious mind, this is the key right here. So what we'll do is, if you get to the primary cause of any result, right, the primary cause of a result, you will get permanent change. But until you get to the primary cause of results, will you actually get permanent change? And the primary cause of a result, go back one slide real quick. The primary cause of a result is the subconscious mind, right? So the way you do what you do, somebody get, oh yeah, perfect. Go ahead, next, twice. All right, so now we gotta ask ourselves, why do they behave as they do, right? Why do they behave? Whether this person is, you're asking yourself about you, why do I behave as I do? Or why do they behave as they do? If you're ever curious, there are some brilliant people in the world. Some of these people used to be my friends. And I'm like, man, these people are amazing people, but they behave such a wrong way. And it ends up breaking up the relationship, the friendship. And I'm like, man, if you just understood that, either drop your ego or do this or do that, if you just changed one thing, if you were just aware of why you do what you do, you could change your whole trajectory of your life. So what we'll dive into is most people don't understand that it's their paradigm. Anybody ever not hear the word paradigm before? Everybody's heard the word paradigm? Sweet. So it's in your paradigm, and what your paradigm is in your subconscious mind is habits. Habits, your paradigm is a multitude of habits, right? Everything you do, 95% of your day-to-day life is habitual behavior. If you told me what you did yesterday, I can guarantee you you're going to do the exact same thing you did yesterday in 2-3 weeks, because it's in your paradigm. Our bodies, our minds are built to make your life easier. Everything you could do. Think about driving. Every single person here drove subconsciously. No one drove here consciously if you drove here. I was looking at these slides on the way when I was driving here. I was talking to her while driving here. I was taking calls on my way driving here. I was thinking thoughts. I was looking left, right, cars, everything. I was doing everything but driving, right? Because it's a habit. Driving is a habit. It's a subconscious habit. It's in my paradigm to drive. So we all drove here subconsciously. Now, what a habit is, I broke down a definition if you guys want to write this down and study this. A habit is nothing but an idea fixed in a person's subconscious mind. A habit, it's an idea, right, that's fixed in your subconscious mind that causes them to do something. When it's fixed into your subconscious mind, it's going to cause you to do something without any conscious thought. I'll give you guys a moment all because I know you're writing that down. I'll read that out loud one more time. A habit is nothing but an idea fixed in a person's subconscious mind that causes them to do something without any conscious thought, right? Such as driving. We all drove here. The idea of driving is fixed into our mind. We already know how to do it. We've been doing it for years, and we did it without thinking about it. And there's a lot of things that we do. We're full of actually habits, or I'll wait till everybody's done writing it down. We're full of habits. Think about, I got some pictures up here that I'll have you guys, give you guys some imagery of what you do on a day-to-day basis. I'll step out of the way, my bad. Go ahead. No worries. So here's a couple habitual activities that you guys do on a daily basis. I'll touch on a couple of them. You watch TV probably at the same time if you're a TV watcher. You brush your teeth the exact same way every day, right? The exact same way. When you put that toothbrush, you hit that tooth the exact same way, right? If you're if you're a smoker, if you eat certain foods, you eat those foods. If you work out, you have a routine, driving, shaving. The way you shave, the exact same way every single time. The way you shower, you guys will probably think about this next time you shower. The way you shower is the exact same way you shower every day, right? You take that sponge and you start on the same spot every time. Pay attention to that. You guys will be like, dude, I do. And so everything you do in life, like I just said, 95% of your day-to-day life is habitual. The only reason why it's not 100% is because we can't control the unknown. I'll give you an example. You're driving to work every day. You take the same route home and you take the same route to work. But if you do that and there's a car accident in the way, what happens? You have to detour, maybe go around the block, right? Take a different road. That's why it's not 100%. If there was no detours in life, your life would be 100% habitual. But because there is detours, because there is, things, barriers and things that pop up in life, that's why it's 95%, not 100%. So think about the business world, right? Think about people that you might know. This might be you, it might be somebody you know that's habitually late, right? Somebody that's just always late to work. And you might, being as the owner, right, you might chastise them for a little bit. You might pull them to the side, have a conversation with them, say, hey, like, your performance, you know, you're always late. You got to be on time for these meetings. But they're always late, right? They might have a great excuse. Most of the time they're great excuses, but it's not the real reason, right? Remember when I said when you get to the primary cause of a result, the excuses that people have when they're late, that's not the primary cause of why they're actually late. It's a good excuse, but the real cause of why they're late every day is it's because it's their paradigm to be late, right? And so you have this conversation with them, so they show up to work maybe 1 day, 2 days, 3 days in a row, and they're early, and then all of a sudden what happens? They trickle back right into being late all over again. Now, we also know people that show up and they're habitually early, right? And they're always ready to go and they're ready to work, right? They're always there early, they're sitting down in their chair and they're just ready to get the meeting going. And you might know those people or you might be that person too. And again too, it's just a part of their paradigm. So let's take a look at a sales professional. Any sales professionals in the room? Okay, yep, awesome, sweet. So in the sales professional industry, the reason why I love this sales profession is because there is millions of dollars spent on training every year on teaching people how to be great salesmen. But there's not a lot of great salespeople, right? But millions of dollars is invested into teaching people how to be great salesmen. Not a lot of great salespeople. Now, you'll train people. Blake could probably talk on this a lot because I know Blake probably spends about 2 hours a day training his sales organization, and you show them how to do something, right? So you show them the exact process, the exact system. You invest time, energy, effort, money into teaching them how to do something, but yet they don't do it, right? They don't follow the process. They don't follow the system. But so much money is being poured into these people to teach them how to do things, yet they don't do it. So, good. What's nice is, not just in sales, but most people know how to put together a presentation, how to read a presentation. I'm reading off of a presentation right now, right, for you guys. So we know how to put it together. We also know, salespeople know how to overcome objections, right? They already know this stuff. They know how to close the deal, close the sale. They know all of this information. But knowing is not enough, right? It's results that matter. You could just know as much information as you want to know and not do anything with it. But when you actually do, you'll get results. And based on how your paradigm is made, the results you get, you're either going to like or you're not going to like. So when people come to work with me, I'll ask them a series of questions. And what I'm actually doing when I'm asking you questions, there's some people in here that do work with me, right? So, and you guys all been through this process where I've asked you guys specific questions. And the reason why I have a conversation with you, and I'll let you guys know, I'll be like, all right, this whole hour meeting that we're in, we're just going to conversate. I'm just going to ask you questions. And the reason why I'm just asking you a series of questions is I want to learn where your paradigm is at. I want to learn about the way you think, right? I don't really care about, there is no right or wrong answer. When I ask a question, it's just, I want to know how you answer so I could find, a method in there. And one of the questions I'll ask too sometimes is, what's the most money you've ever earned in a year? Because that'll give me your programming in respect to money, right? And if I know where you're at in respect to money, then I know where we can start, where we can actually start to begin. So I follow a method called the CPC method. I actually learned it from a buddy of mine, Greg Reed. And Greg Reed learned it from a buddy of his. And this CPC method helps me help you, right? So when I'm asking you these series of questions, the first C is clues. I'm like, all right, what's this question? Let's say if I say, what is the most money you've ever wrote down, and you write this down in your notes or answer this question in your notes, because this is really good to reflect on. What's the most amount of money you've ever made in a year? And just take note of that, right? And just look at it. Because that's a clue. That's a clue to where your paradigm is at. That's a clue to your belief system, right? That's a clue to how your self-image of yourself. The most money you've made in a year is a clue, right? So I'll ask more questions beyond that. And what I try to find out is P. I try to find patterns in your answers, right? Patterns of your thought habits. Where are your thought habits really at based on these series of questions? Then eventually what we'll do together is we'll focus on this C. And we'll put our minds together and I'll say, okay, listen, we have some clues and we have some patterns of where you're currently at in your life. Now we're going to make a choice together on how we're going to shift your paradigm to get away from these results and move into the results that you really want. And so this CPC method has been brilliant to me helping other people win, right? This also, once you understand the CPC method, you start to learn people quick, right? I can have a conversation with every single one of you guys tonight, ask 2-3 questions, get clues and patterns immediately, and just know where your paradigm's at. You start to understand people at some of the highest levels just by having this method put in place. If you guys are scaling your business, talking to customers, talking to clients, talking to partnerships, use this method moving forward, right? Ask them questions that you're looking for clues on your end, right? You're looking for patterns that might work. And then eventually you guys come up with a choice of what you're going to do moving forward. So from there, what we're really doing is we're getting you to understand how your paradigm is programmed, right? We're getting you to understand what habits are. What is a habit? Why do habits exist? How do habits become, right? And when you really understand how the subconscious mind works, that's when you can actually start to change it. Some people in here, I'm a great example of the gym. I'm a healthy person, right? I stay active. But lifting weights is not a part of my paradigm. I use this example a lot because there's times where there was a time where I was living with this guy. And we were up and we were at the gym. And even if I wasn't living with him, there was a time where we were meeting at the gym at 5 a.m. every morning and I was bulked up. I was probably about 10, 15 pounds bigger than I am right now. And so lifting weights is not a part of my paradigm. Working out and staying healthy, that's a part of my paradigm for sure. But when I understood all this, that's my paradigm, this is my habit, this is how my subconscious mind works, I do have a goal of weighing a certain amount, right? That's more than where I'm at. However, because I know this, I can now say to myself, I will not do this until I reprogram myself. And I'm okay with that. I'm consciously aware of how I can shift my habits. And when I do that, now I can start to change it anytime I want. Now I know when I'm ready to go bulk up and actually hit the gym and actually lift heavier weights, now I know I can do it immediately. But here's a key thing. You should only focus on one habit or 2 habits at most at a time, right? So that's why I haven't focused on getting into the habit of lifting weights, because I have other habits I'm working on right now that I can't interrupt. And once I'm done with these habits, then I can move into these habits, right?
Why can't you focus on multiple habits at once?
Same thing. There's how many people, there's a thing in life where we do it all the time, right? It's called the shiny penny syndrome is a great analogy for this. If you have shiny penny syndrome, I grew up with shiny penny syndrome. And you see somebody winning in real estate, and you're like, man, I want to do real estate. Teach me real estate. Then another guy comes around and they just made $10 million in e-commerce, and you're like, damn, teach me e-commerce. I'm gonna do e-commerce. Then someone's doing day trading. You're like, dang, man, that's good. Teach me day trading. So we got shiny penny syndrome. And when we do that, if you can't give your full time, energy, and attention to one, how are you ever going to become an expert at that, right? So you're distracted, and now you know a lot of shit. You know real estate, you know e-commerce, you know trading, but you're not doing any of them now, right? But you know all of them. So shiny penny syndrome is a great analogy for that, because as you're focused on a habit, if there's too many of them, there are 60 habits I got written down that I want to accomplish in the next 5 years. I have a program coming out, not yet, that's a high-level program. It's a 5-year program. So if you sign up for that program, you're stuck with me for 5 years. It's elite-level coaching. And the program is to create 60 new habits in 5 years. So I wrote down 60 habits that I want to create in the next 5 years. And I'm just chipping away at one at a time. And if you reprogram yourself one habit at a time for the next 5 years, you will be a completely new person, right? So I don't know if that answers your question, but distractions is huge. So if you see, multiple habits that you want to change, I want to get fit, I want to gain weight, but man, I want to do something else that's more important right now, that if I focus my attention here, I'll have more time freedom to focus here too. Like I said, I take care of my health, I'm healthy. Lifting weights is different. Lifting weights is lifting weights, it's gaining weight. So that's when we can start to change. Now here's a brand new baby making its debut on earth, right? And what you'll notice is a baby doesn't have a conscious mind. I took off the top of this circle. A baby coming into earth, they don't have a conscious mind. So everything that's going on around this baby, every event, every activity, everything, every idea, every thought, is just pouring right into this baby's subconscious mind. It has no choice, right? It's just accepting everything. So think about, think about the food you like. Let's see, what's one of your favorite foods? Pizza. Pizza? Sweet. What's one of your favorite foods? Salad. You said salad? Anybody else's favorite food, salad? You're the first. That's the first. No. So think about the food you like, right? And think about maybe why you like it. And the reason why you actually like the food you like is because your parents made you that food. Because think about it. How many parents in the room again? Okay. So think about this when you're being a parent. I'm a parent now. So when I make food, I'm making food I like. Then I so happen to serve it to the baby, the child, right? So they grow up without a choice. They like the food that I like because I'm their parent. I'm serving it. I'm cooking it for them. But why do I like the food I like? Same thing, because my parents were making the food that they like. So you would have to go far throughout your family tree to figure out who was the actual person who made the decision for Jacob to like pizza or for Blake to like salad, right? How far do you have to go up this family tree to figure out who the heck likes salad, who in the heck likes pizza, right? Everyone likes pizza too. I don't think it's one of my favorites, but it could be in my top 10, So, but you would have to go far to figure this out with anything you do. Not just food, but any habit you have. Think about how far you have to go up this family tree to actually understand where it came from genetically, where it got passed down to, and so on and so on. So think about genetically, right? The way you look was passed down genetically. That's a habit that was passed down as a genetic habit. I like this example because it takes one cell to create you. It took one cell to create you. Think about there's trillions. You guys probably never thought about this. This is how my mind works. But there is trillions of memories inside of one cell. The color of your skin, the height you are, the gender you are, the color of your hair, the color of your eyes, anything is all memory that was passed down from your parents, right? That's why Asians are Asians. Think about this. If you are a darker skin tone and you got two dark skin tone parents, you'll be dark skin tone. But what happens when you have dark skin tone and light skin tone? You end up with a lighter skin tone baby. Now let's take that lighter skin tone baby and add another lighter skin tone relationship. There's another light skin tone baby. Next thing you know, you'll have a white baby, but genetically, if you go up that family tree, they have all dark skin tone heritage, but yet their skin tone is white because over time, genetically, that memory has been passed down and passed down and passed down, creating who you are, right? So again, that baby has no choice. So the food you make it, I think they're making pizza. The things you teach your baby, right? Maybe your emotion, think about the households you know, and you're like, man, those kids are wild. You ever go to grocery stores and you just hear the kids running down the aisle yelling at their parents? Why do you think that is? And then the parents yell back at them. I'm like, you don't understand, your kids aren't the problem, right? It's they're watching you, and as they're watching you, they're getting emotionally damaged too, right? So it's not the kid. It's the kid's influence. What is the kid seeing? Because the kid doesn't know any better. They're only duplicating what they're seeing. And it's going straight into their subconscious mind, not their conscious mind, probably for about 2 to 3 years. And so there's another quote, right? Carl Menninger, this is an amazing quote, by the way. He said, environment is more important than heredity. How many of us have heard the quote, you are the sum of the 5 people you hang around, right? I would assume everybody in this room has heard that. Because environment is more important than heredity. I could take someone that is, I use this example. I could take a Chinese baby from China, right? Brand new, newborn, right? 1 month old. Bring them here to America and they'll grow up learning English as their first language. I could take an English baby, an American baby. I could move them all the way to China and this American baby would grow up learning Chinese as their first language. Because even though their heredity is American, their environment was Chinese, right? The way you are is because who you surround yourself with. And it doesn't need to be physically. What books are you reading? What podcasts are you listening to? What movies are you watching? Movies are, you guys wouldn't know the subconscious, what your subconscious picks up in the movies you watch. And then you watch them over and over and over again. Again, too, go back to that baby that's just yelling down the aisle. I can instantly, if I know that person's yelling, I can say, okay, that parent probably spends about 3 hours a day watching movies on Netflix. Their category of movie is probably drama. It could be comedic. It could be, it's a lot of stuff. Maybe it's horror, right? Maybe it's, there's a lot of things that you can identify just by understanding immediately what's going on, especially with a kid. If you know a kid, the way they're acting, you know their parents' whole life, almost in a split second. You can predict it almost immediately. So the kid, though, doesn't have a choice with its environment. Environment's important, right? More important than heredity, but the child doesn't have a choice. So therefore, it'll pick up everything that's subconscious. Now, I already talked to us about before, right? The paradigm is what causes us to actually behave. The things you actually do is because it's your paradigm to actually do. So we all have businesses here, right? Probably besides 1 or 2 people. Now, think about your business. Think about your team for a moment. How many hours do you guys spend in meetings? How many hours do you guys spend strategizing new ideas, but yet they don't get executed on, right? Hours on hours get invested into this and they don't get executed on. Now, why is that? Great answer, your paradigm, right? And once you guys start to understand this, you're like, dang, Michael's saying paradigm a whole lot. Every time he's saying why, it's because your paradigm. It's because the answer, guys, is your paradigm. So this is what I would say about the gym, right? This is exactly what I just conversated with you guys. Once you guys understand it's your paradigm, then you're going to have this conversation with yourself every time you want to do something new. You're going to be like, well, I know I'm not going to do that because I'm not programmed to do it. Lifting weights. I know I'm not going to do that. I'm not programmed to do it. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to have to change the programming, right? So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to have to change the programming. So whatever it is that you want to do, when you understand it's the way you're programmed, right? It's your habitual behavior, you'll have this. I have this conversation with myself all the time. When I have a new idea or I want to commit to something, I'm like, and you ain't going to do it. Write it down for later. You know, I'll definitely write it down for later. Don't ever rely on your memory. Your memory is actually perfect, but don't rely on it. Write it down. Get it out on paper. That's why writing is so important. So when you think of something, there's a process, right? And as you're thinking of this thing, whatever it is you're thinking about, this new idea you're thinking about, you have to actually internalize it. You got to get emotionally involved with it, meaning you got to really, really want it. And the way to actually do that is you're going to do it through repetition. So if there's a goal you have, everybody in here know their goals? Yeah? Everybody know their goals? Who writes down their goals every day? Okay. So that's a big difference, right? So you got to do repetition. If you have a goal, and this is how you make something subconscious. This is how you internalize what you're thinking. If you're thinking, I want to sell the Ideal app for $1 billion. Okay. So if I want to sell the Ideal app, if I want to exit this company for $1 billion, but I just think about it, that ain't going to work. So I want to internalize it. What did I say earlier? Your mind and your body is programmed to make life easy for you. So how do I make achievable things, selling a company for $1 billion, how do I make that easy for me? Well, through repetition, right? You got to have a process in place. And in this process, that'll change your paradigm, right? So as you write this goal down, to exit for $1 billion, and then tomorrow you write it down again, and then the next day you write it down again, and then the next day again. How long do you keep writing it for? Forever, until it's achieved. You never stop writing your goal down until it's achieved. What you're gonna do is, as you're writing it down, your subconscious mind is now gonna see what's out there, opportunity. Check this out for a moment. Let me try to pick somebody. Clayton, let's go over this again.
So I'm running the camera.
All you got to do is answer me. So, on this book that I'm holding right here, there is nothing, if I told you there is nothing on the cover of this book, am I right or am I wrong? Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you again. There is nothing on the cover of this book, am I right or am I wrong? Okay. So, I'm just going to ask you one more time because I just don't know. There is nothing on the cover of this book, am I right or am I wrong? Okay, so now as I keep asking the question, I'm putting your guys' attention on the cover of this book, right? And now, from your perception, I'm wrong, right? But if I gave you guys my perception, and I said, hey guys, there's nothing on the cover of this book, am I right or am I wrong? Right. I'm right. So we're both looking at the exact same thing from different perceptions. So when you're thinking about your goals, you have a perception that you're dealing with. The perception you're dealing with is your self-image now and your belief system that you need to create. Your self-image now is saying, I can't achieve selling this for $1 billion, therefore you don't write down the goal, therefore you don't do. But when you do something over and over and over and over again, what you're going to do is you're going to create a new perception of yourself and of the goal. And your belief is going to change, right? So it's a process. It's a process of repetition that'll change your paradigm. And if you do that long enough, your behavior will start to change. So as your mind right now is probably sometimes in most of society is looking at our everyday life and they're like, man, the news this, the government this, my job this, my coworker this, and it's just negative, 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 trying to find the worst in everything, right? So your mind attracts more worse. So if you change your paradigm to focus on what's the future for you, right? It's only going to think about that. So now you're stepping out and you're going to meet somebody and they're going to be like, hey, I know somebody that builds apps, right? That's actually really good at building apps. You should talk to them, okay? So that happened because my mind is looking for that opportunity without me consciously doing it. I'm not consciously looking for like, who can help build my app? My subconscious is doing it for me. So when I hear somebody or hear a conversation or hear something, I'm like, okay, let me see what's going on over here. And magic could happen, right, with that process. When your behavior changes, then your results will change. Now check this out. When your results change, your thinking is going to change. And it starts all over again. Now you have a belief system in place. And when you think, you internalize a new thought, you repeat that thought over and over and over again in a process. This is a process. When Blake said we have a process and system, there's a process and system in this book. If you do it every single day, this is the repetition of this process will change your paradigm. So if you're trying to figure out, if you've been sitting here asking yourself, but how, it's repetition on a process, right? And then you do this over and over and you get really good at this. You start to get really, really good at this. Blake says, every time I write something down on my paper, I know I'll achieve it because you're doing it. You've learned the process that gets this process going. So I used to, this wasn't even long ago, maybe 5 to 7 years ago, and my whole life, by the way, but my whole life and about 5 to 7 years ago, I grew up around financially challenged group of people all the time. The way I grew up, I told you guys at the beginning, poverty, right? The most I seen my mom make in a year was probably 30 grand. I don't know, but I couldn't imagine anything more than that based on how we were living. If it rained, I didn't know if it was going to be my bedroom caving in or the kitchen or the living room. I was like, man, every time it rained, I was like, all right, I'm just going to stay awake. You know, because you don't know. And I've woken up like that because you do what you're given, right? And so I grew up around a lot of financially challenged people, ton. And in a matter of just a few couple years, I would say just maybe 2 to 3 years of really understanding what's changing my paradigm, I went from hanging out with financially challenged people with having an abundance of millionaires and billionaires as my friends now, right? Some of them are business partners, some of them are friends, some of them are just relationships. Blake and I have gotten, some of these images are missing for whatever reason, but I've gotten to interview all these people on our talk show, right? Sit down with them, build relationships, collaborate with them, have lifelong relationships. And for me, it was like, I had to reflect on this. I was like, okay, before I really got into like coaching, I was like, okay, how do you go from someone that's never been exposed to personal development? I've never been exposed to personal development. I did not know what the word entrepreneur was even when I was doing it. I was like 17 years old. I had my own marketing agency, and I didn't even know I had my own marketing agency. I was just doing it, right? And I didn't know entrepreneur was a word. So I ended up having conversations with all these people and doing all these cool things with them and learning from them and hearing their stories on how they did it. And I would ask myself, like, what was it? See, most people would have been satisfied with these relationships. They would have been like, okay, you got all these cool people to hang out with, cool. And I'm satisfied with them. I'm definitely satisfied with this relationship. What I wasn't satisfied with was not knowing how I was able to go from somebody in poverty who didn't even know a millionaire was a millionaire. I remember growing up, there was one Lamborghini in the whole city, and no one knew who owned it, probably because that's what happens. You know, rich people stay away from you. No one knew who it was an orange Lamborghini. And it was the only Lamborghini I've ever seen in my entire life that got me into cars. And so when that got me into cars, that's what got me into thinking bigger. Man, all these people got Lamborghinis. I didn't know that. So I try to figure out, why is it that I changed? Why is it that I can build relationships with these people? Why is it that I can build a company that we're going to exit for $1 billion and it's going to be a global app all over the world? Like, what happened there? So I had to figure it out. It took me about 7 years to actually dial it in and figure out what it was. And you guys know the answer, right? It's your paradigm, right? It's your paradigm. So I had no formal education. I had no business experience, right? Before I started doing personal development, before I started meeting all these people, I had a terrible attitude, bad attitude. I was the type of person causing fights with my teacher. I was the type of person causing fights with my siblings. If you just looked ugly, I would go cause a fight with you, right? From my perception, right? So I was just a troublemaker. I had a bad attitude. And now we're building, a $1 billion company globally. So how does this happen? Now, what I've come to learn is that most of the things that we're actually told or taught in life isn't really true. See, probably like you guys, since a lot of you guys are entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, or you just want to become the best version of yourself, have probably heard the same thing, that you actually, without a formal education, you're not going to win. Now, I don't have a formal education, but I've won, right? Or building a business. If you don't have no business experience, you can't win. Before, I had no business experience. I didn't go to business school. I didn't, I learned from experiences. I've been able to build an organization or a company that's, like I keep saying it, it's going global. It's going all over the place. We have coaches joining us out in Spain. We have coaches from Las Vegas to Spain to who knows where it's going to be in a year, right? Just global expansion. So think about the highest performing people that you know in an organization. This is a great example that probably Blake could touch on too. The highest performing people in an organization, the reason why I point out Blake is because he's the highest performing person in his organization when it comes to sales. But yet, corporations will spend millions, if not billions of dollars shadowing their top performers, trying to figure out what is it that they're doing. And they don't know. They have no clue. They can't figure it out. What is it that this person is doing? Let me give you guys an understanding of this. It's not what they're doing at work. If your job is to go out there and sell a product, whether it be cars or solar or roofs or vacuums, whatever you're selling, if your job is to go out there to sell, and one person is selling $1 million of that product every year, and another person who's smarter is only selling $1,000 of that product every year, and they just suck, it's not what this person is doing at the work that's helping them perform. It's what are they doing out of work that's helping them perform better in work. What are their repetitions outside of work that cause them to do repetitions in work that are much more effective? And it's their paradigm, right? It's the things that they know. It's not the things that they know that's actually getting them to do. It's the things in their paradigm that's getting them to do. Now, how are they doing it? Most of the people that I know that are super high performers, they're actually not that very smart, right? I talked about this in the beginning. There's people that are very, they're multi-millionaires. They're not intelligent. They don't know how to read or write. The person I said I learned that CPC method from, Greg Reed, he has an honorary PhD in literature. He's dyslexic, illiterate, he can't read or he can't write. He's written over 150 books, and he has an honorary PhD in literature. I'm like, man, how are you doing it? And when you talk to him and you hang out with him, we'll go to his house, and you're like, man, this guy's like, how is this guy a multimillionaire and building multinational organizations and doing what he's doing, and he's dyslexic and illiterate? And it just blows your mind, right? But some of these people, it's because they're doing it. It's in their paradigm. But when you gather information, like you're doing it right now, right, in your conscious mind, when you're gathering information, that's not going to get you results. That won't get you the results. So why do people behave as they do, and why don't they behave how they want? This is a really great question to ask yourself. One, why do people behave as they do? That's a great question if you got a company or an organization. But it's more about like, man, why don't I behave the way that I want to behave, right? Because a lot of us don't. We don't get out of our comfort zone to behave how we really want to behave. There was a quote, I don't know who said it. I've heard it from Bob Proctor though, but Bob Proctor heard it from somebody else. He said, if I want to be free, I got to be me. And I didn't understand what that meant like a couple years ago. But then I started to really understand it. I was like, okay, if I want to be free, I got to be me. But it's whoever you really are, not who you think you are or being the type of person that you think someone thinks you are, right? It's who you really are. And so now think of the knowledge of those people in your organization, maybe your friend group, and you're like, man, and look at their results. How come this person's not a millionaire and they know everything? I know a lot of people that come to me for real estate advice. I haven't built a big real estate portfolio. I will promise you though, I feel like I'm the smartest person in the world when it comes to real estate. I know a lot of information. I hung out with a lot of people in real estate. I know everything there is to know about real estate, right? And so people come to me for that real estate information, but I'm not building out portfolios all around the world how some people are, right? So think about the people that know stuff but aren't doing it with it. Look at the results in that area. And how can we close this knowing-doing gap within that person, right? How can we close the gap? So what I say is watch a person if you choose, right? Find somebody that you look up to maybe. All right, now if you're a business owner and you got employees, watch your employees. But don't just watch them, study them. Now that you're learning this information, study that person and see that you will begin to notice, like I said, the way you shower is the way you're going to shower every single day because it's habitual behavior. The way they behave is habitual. And when you understand that, you start to relax a little bit. Start to not, thank you, appreciate it. And what you start to realize is the stuff that they know is not the stuff that's getting them to do. Again, it's their paradigm that's getting them to actually do. So if you were anybody in here ever been fired from a job? Yeah? I quit, so they couldn't fire me. So, if you've ever been pulled into the office, right, and this might happen at your office a lot, and the reason why I keep pointing to him is because he runs a sales organization. And so the boss will pull him into the office and, be Betty or, Henry, whatever the person is, look, your performance just isn't going to cut it. And what does that person do? They're like, well, what do I got to do? What do I got to do to change it? And I'll change it. And they mean it, right? They mean it. How many people have told you that? Like, what do I got to do? And I'll change it. Yeah? And I'll change it. I'll do it. But then what happens is they get back into the field and they don't do it. Right? But they mean it. They really mean it. They just don't do it. So you have, go to the next one. What you do is you have a boss and you have an employee, and they're two ignorant people about why this person's not performing, why they're performing. Right? It's not because this person's a bad performer. They're not. Their paradigm, it's their paradigm. And their paradigm is what's the problem. But yet you have a boss who doesn't understand paradigms. You have an employee or a sales rep who doesn't understand that their paradigm is what's messed up. And here's the thing, is every problem there is has to do with your paradigm. Everything has to do with your paradigm. So, and this knowing-doing gap over time, over life, becomes miles apart. So, I already talked about the millions and billions of dollars. In North America alone, $60 billion a year gets invested into helping people know more, right? Gathering information. So, with that though, what we have to do is we have to focus on this paradigm. We got to get people, like I'm doing right now, to understand why they do what they do, right? Why is it that you do what you do? The results you're getting, reflect on it. I have people do a practice. I say take one sheet of paper, and on this sheet of paper, write down every result that you're getting that you don't like right now on one sheet of paper. On another sheet of paper, write every single result, polar opposite of how you want it to be, right? Because there's an opposite to everything. There's inside, there's outside, right? There's the inside of the book, outside of the book. There's positive, there's negative. So then I tell them, rip out the side with all the negative results and just light it on fire, okay? It doesn't mean those results are going to go away, not at all. But what you're going to do is you're going to instill a memory, a symbolism of this is what I'm trying to get rid of, and this is now what I'm going to focus on. You know, it's impossible to focus on something here and still have room to focus on stuff here if you've replaced it with an exact copy, right? So once you start to understand, go back real quick. Once you start to understand why you do what you do, then you got to really understand, well, okay, how do you change it? I kind of gave you a short process on how to change it, right, with all the arrows. Once you understand these things, then everything in your life actually starts to change. You start to produce different results. You start to see different outcomes. And what happens is your mind is like a thermostat, and it's set, right? So, and if it's set at, it's the thermostat to your life. So if it's set at 67 degrees, and someone opens the door right now and it drops down to 64, what happens is the thermostat is going to click on and it's going to bring the temperature back up to 67 degrees. Same thing is if those fire pits were inside and it got to 80 degrees, it's going to send a signal to that thermostat and it's going to kick it right back down. The AC is going to come back on and it's going to bring you down to 67 degrees. In your life, your paradigm is your thermostat. So whatever your thermostat is set at is it's gonna come back to. It'll always come back to that. I'll give you an example. If somebody wants to lose weight, I'll use the weight example again. Say they're a certain weight and they want to lose 10 pounds. Their thermostat, let's use numbers for example. Say they're 200, they're trying to lose 10 pounds in the next 60 days, or 30 days, whatever. And so their thermostat is set at 200 pounds. But they're trying to get to 190. They lose the 190. Right? They lose the 10. They get to 190. Yes. Right? Congrats. However, their thermostat isn't set at 190. Right? Their paradigm is not set at 190. It's set at 200. So what's going to happen is the signal is going to get switched right back on. It's It's going to go right up your nervous system, and it's going to find the 10 pounds again. And you're going to get it right back. Right? So if you don't know how to change your paradigm and set your paradigm to 190, it's not going to stay at 190. It's going to kick right back up to 200 pounds. Sweet. That is the last slide. So that information right there is all about the knowing and the doing gap, right? How can we take the information that we know? Everybody in here is full of information. I can learn from every single one of you guys, right? I always see everybody as equals. There's no person above or below. We're all equal. And I can learn a lot of information from all of you guys. However, I like to learn information from people that are getting results, what they're telling me, the information that they're getting, right? I wouldn't, listen to somebody that's 200 pounds on how to weight lift and perform on stage, because I want to make sure that you've performed on stage, that you got the body, that you got the look, and then I'm going to take advice from you because I know you've done it, right? You want to listen to people. Greg Reed told us, seek counsel, not opinions, right? Counsel comes from knowledge, wisdom, and experience, and opinions comes from everything else, right? Lacks of knowledge, lacks of experiences, just opinions. So take this information and let's do something with it. Let's apply it. It's recorded. You guys could go rewatch it. Rewatch it over and over and over again. I would rewatch this information because I'm going to take you guys back to the beginning. People pay, if not tens of thousands of dollars for this, hundreds of thousands of dollars for this exact lesson. Over and over for corporations all over the world. So use this, rewatch it, understand it, and then, do it. Alrighty, with that being said, what's next on our agenda? Perfect. Let's go to break. I went a little bit over. Restrooms right there. Take a break. What we're going to do after break, we'll make it like 15 minutes, is we're going to do introductions. You guys will see how that works. Super, super great way to dive into our networking at the end, so that way you guys could all meet, all network, and build your business, build your personal life, whatever it is